Steve, can you hear us? Dan?
I can hear you now.
Sweet. Is it time? Oh, okay. All right. We are calling to order the Hood River Urban Renewal Advisory Committee meeting of February 19th. We have a couple people on Zoom and the rest of us at the dais. And there's no one in the audience. Is there anyone online that wants to yell at us? No. Okay. Cool. I'm Mark Sandmiller, and because Kate isn't able to make it tonight, I'm gonna run the meeting, but off we go. Any other agenda additions, corrections, Will?
No, there are not.
Sweet. The first thing is approval of minutes for December 16th, for anyone who was there.
We got an election of officers.
Did I not see that there? Election of officers. Sweet. All right, so talk to Kate, and she's interested in continuing on as chair. Can we get a sort of thumbs up or if anyone wants to take her on, we can talk about that. All right, I think so too. Thanks, Steve. Okay, so
Should we get a motion in a second just for the minutes?
I was gonna do them together. But
okay, got
we
it.
can.
Perfect.
Is that cool?
Uh-huh.
So there's a vice chair, what do we
chair.
call it? Vice chair here. And if Kate's not here, someone would run the meeting and be available for staff if there was anything like that. So it's pretty easy duty. Is there anyone that would really like to do that?
This on to get out.
Huh?
Who's to get out?
Me?
What's on?
Oh, no, because we had appointed Clint to be the vice chair, and we never appointed a
Well, his term is
vice
just up.
chair. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to put my name in the hat, but if anyone was anxious to do it, that's good too. Go for it. All right, so then we need a motion to nominate Kate as chair, and unless someone last minute wants to jump in, Martha's vice chair.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Jeff, a second.
I'll second.
Sweet. Okay, we have a motion and a second to elect Kate as chair for this next, is it a year?
Year.
A year, and myself as vice chair. So all in favor say aye. Any nays? All right, motion carries. Now. I guess I asked if there was any additions and you said no. Approval of meeting minutes from December 18th is.
I'll move approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. I read through it and it sounded okay.
I wasn't here, so.
Okay.
Second.
This one.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes, say yes.
Yes.
And regular business items. Will, you're gonna take away the show.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair Sam Miller, members of the advisory committee. I've got just a little visual aid here. I wouldn't even call it a full presentation. I'm gonna share my screen. Great. So I have some proposed changes to the middle housing construction incentive for the West Side District for your consideration. We adopted a construction incentive in 2024, received $1 million in financing for it, half coming from the Oregon Investment Board and half coming from the city of Hood River. And the intention with this program was to even out the development burden that lower cost, lower sized homes have in development fees against larger buildings. And I have just kind of a visual of what that looks like. So we benchmarked against a 3,000 square foot home. And these are numbers from when the program was developed. And so a home with a construction permit value of 550,000, not what it sells for, but what the permit valuation is, would have a development fee burden of about $37,000 or about 7% of its permit value. But because many of the development fees, and actually I'll move back here, like water and sewer are based solely on meter size, and meter size doesn't really vary based on the size of the house. And some other charges like that are either you get the charge or you don't, but it doesn't change with the size of the house. Means that other building types will be paying a higher percentage of their development cost and fees. And so I have here the example of that same 3,000 or sorry, 2,000 square foot house. I'm blanking here. 37,000. And then what that would be for a cottage cluster with 4 cottages, and then the example of the Leeward Apartments over on Clearwater, and what their development fee burden is as a percentage of their permit value. You can see that for more modest spaced size types of housing, development fee burden creates is a higher proportion of their costs. So that's how we sized the incentive, was to just make it 7% for everyone, whatever was necessary in a incentive to make it 7% of the permit value. So we rolled that out in 2014. We marketed it through a brochure that was sent to all property owners on the West Side District, to all builders who had pulled a building permit in the last 5 years, and also to a list of middle housing developers in Portland and Bend that we got from Cascadia Partners. So, and also created a web page for the program, and hired Vector Architecture to provide examples of projects that would fit. So we did all of that, and we haven't received any applications in the last year. And I think that we, folks who are on the advisory committee at the time can chime in if you think this is correct. But I think we talked about at the time that this was a first shot, and we didn't want to over subsidize for-profit development. And so we would try this. If we didn't get any bites, we could tweak it and make it incrementally more attractive until the rubber met the road and we got some traction. And that would be a good test to make sure that we were just doing the bare minimum subsidy necessary to influence the market. So with that data now a year behind us, I have the following proposed changes. So the original program used the city's middle housing standards as the litmus test of whether or not you qualify. And so that's a maximum size of 1,200 square feet, and then also a bunch of design requirements as well that also come with density bonuses. So I thought this could be a way to get more oomph behind the middle housing standards, because they're a really powerful tool for increased density while also protecting neighborhood character. Then a lot of work on the planning side has gone into that. But I think decoupling from that would be a good idea, because it'll be more understandable. And also the middle housing standards just basically has a 1,200 square foot max. It doesn't size with the number of bedrooms. And so I'm proposing that we just do size based only. And and you'll see in the table, basically starting out at 600 square feet and then adding 200 square feet every time you add a bedroom. So that's to make it simpler and clearer. The original program was going to, like all urban renewal programs, is funded by tax increment. So we wanted to give the incentive payment to developers of this middle housing when they completed the project, because that's when we knew for sure new taxable value had been created, which is our ultimate funding source to repay the loan repay the financing. So it was a real risk mitigation strategy, but many developers said, I got that from the very beginning, was this doesn't help with my cash flow. I need the money much earlier in the process. But I wasn't willing to take that risk, but I have learned since that the county assessor assesses work in progress construction. And so I have a table from the county assessor that shows how much of taxable value is created at certain construction milestones. And so I'm suggesting that we provide 30% of the incentive once framing is done, another 20% when electrical is in, 25% when doors and trim. Sorry, there's a typo in the presentation, but doors and trim. And then the last 25% equaling 100% at certificate of occupancy. And so that still mirrors the outlay of the payment with creation of taxable value as a risk mitigation strategy, but it is a way to front load the payment a little bit more. And then lastly is getting away from the equalization of the development fee burden and just going to a set dollar amount. And the feedback that I've gotten on this is when developers go to lenders and to investors to underwrite their project. So developers often don't bring the cash there to the table. They have what are called limited partners who actually fund the project, and then also construction loans. When they're showing their work for how this project is going to pencil and make money and be able to pay back the loan and pay back the investor, they need to show all their sources and uses. And having this formula is just a little novel, unique, and not really fits the risk kind of orientation of a lender and an investor. So if we can just tell them $12,500 per unit, that's very easy for everyone to understand and to plug in to a pro forma. Yeah, so those are 3 changes that I'm hoping to roll out and get your feedback on, and then take your feedback to the agency board to make the change.
Thanks. Questions for Will?
I had one clarifying question. Like you mentioned, like the plan all along was to sort of start in one place and maybe turn it up. Is there any timeline associated with the availability of these funds that would cause us to try to be more aggressive now versus, turn a knob now and then wait and turn another knob later?
Yeah, we don't have a deadline that I can remember from the Oregon Investment Board. I think they were actually interested in giving us more funds if we are successful in the first tranche of money. And I don't recall if there's a deadline with the city either, but if the agency board is also the city council, so if they're behind these changes, I think they would extend the credit.
Cool. Jeff, do you have any questions?
I was just wondering about. I was just wondering about, and it might be the point might be the equalization, the 12,500 per unit. So a 600 square foot unit gets the same subsidy as a large 4-bedroom unit. Yes.
Yes, but that's definitely something we could talk about.
It just is something that I was like, how do I feel about that? Because the money being spent on a 4-bedroom is significantly more of an investment, but I also don't fully understand like the permit fees. The way I was looking at your other slide, it kind of was like you were saying, it's sewer, it's the same size pipe, it's the same, but there's more of it, maybe more cost. So one thing that I thought, and I don't know if it would complicate it, would be to think about the idea of sizing it to the unit. But if ease is more important and simplicity, there is that too.
Lindsay, any thoughts, questions? No. Steve, any thoughts, questions?
So, I guess similar, whether or not we could tie it to the size of the unit. Does it need to be by bedroom at all, or just simply square footage?
Yeah, it was just you either followed the middle housing standards or you didn't. And the middle housing standards were 1,200 square feet, regardless of number of bedrooms. And so that's how it used to be.
Yeah.
But if we're trying to, I think the idea here is all else held equal, smaller smaller homes are more affordable than larger homes. But you could imagine, 1,200 square feet with a one bedroom might be more of a luxury type product versus a three bedroom at 1,200 square feet is more of a workforce housing type of situation. And so
Yeah.
that was my thought there.
I was thinking that maybe if you had 1,400 square feet, even if you had one bedroom, somebody could always squeeze 3 more bedrooms in there the following year or whenever, a few partitions wouldn't be very hard to add. And you'd suddenly have a 4-bedroom house with the same square footage. So I was just wondering if basing on size did make more sense. I don't know.
So are you on Tina's page with maybe a slightly bigger unit getting a slightly bigger incentive, or I couldn't.
Yeah,
tell.
I would. Yeah, well, as far as an incentive, I guess I'm just looking at well, okay. I don't know. I have to think about this some more. I'm getting kind of.
Sure. Dan, any thoughts?
Oh, Dan's on for height. He's the
Oh.
Heights owners rep.
Sorry, Dan.
He's on for Heights things.
So my thoughts were a couple points. One is for the when they get paid thing. After they frame, they're building that, right? I mean, they're not going to change. So can we address that concern by just saying it's 70% at framing and 30% at occupancy or something like that? So, and then there's fewer touches for the city to be involved and know and write them checks and all that kind of stuff. That was one thought I had. And then on Tina's thing, one of the ideas is like this whole middle housing thing is just how do we incent builders to do workforce housing? And I don't know if it seems like by giving the reward bigger for 4 bedrooms, they're just going to make those instead of, maybe it's down a little bit from what they're building now, but that would be my only concern with that. But maybe we draw a line with like below 2 bedrooms is 12,000 a unit, and above 2 bedrooms is
Well, it costs, I mean, I don't know, developers like to pack it in, that's what I know. And I think the square footage is a limiter.
right.
More, like it is more of a limiter, so if you have, well, you're not gonna get, according to this, you're simply not going to get any incentive if you do a 1 bedroom at 1,400, obviously. But if you're doing a 4 bedroom, it would cost more, than a studio. I mean, it's just a matter of building materials.
Right.
The question is it proportion? Maybe you do not give a large discount. Perhaps it could be a smaller discount for a smaller unit, but not substantial.
So if you take a R1 lot and you say, my perfect and what I would hope they would build is 3,000-foot homes instead of 1,500 square foot home on that same lot. Is that real? Do I know what I'm talking about? Not necessarily, but that was sort of how this discussion's been going since 2015. So,
Well, yeah, I guess I was okay with the 12,500 per unit in the sense that that's providing a higher incentive for the smaller buildings, which is what we want, right? That's the point of this. Like, as opposed to recouping the costs. And maybe this is a discussion for like a year from now, if these improvements don't get us to where we want. But like, I was thinking like the intent of this was to sort of level the playing field. But if what we really need are these types of houses, maybe we have to turn that dial further to provide an incentive so they actually get built and make it advantageous for them to build middle housing.
Well, I had a question. I'm sure you've done an analysis of this. I think there has been. I have, in my experience, 600 square feet is not always the need. In fact, the 4 bedrooms are the need. And so actually you'd want to incentivize a 4 bedroom because there's not enough family housing. but I don't know, if we have found that there are certain units we want to incentivize more for Hood River because there is a shortage of them. That would be my follow-up question, because I agree with you that we want to encourage the type of units we need.
Maybe we just, to the agency, we pass along that was a discussion and if there's an analysis of, you know, what's best for I was sort of along the lines of Doug is like, we want them to build more smaller, but you're right, that if that's not what we want, then we should scale it. And what about the, what do you folks think about the changing the paying to more, even more front?
I did have one comment on that. So we could do that, certainly, but that would be getting ahead of the taxable value creation. So just really think about that and you know, I do know at least one house in town that's been stuck at framing for several years. So it does happen that people start framing and they run out of money and it just sits there.
Yep. I mean, so still they're jumping in the pool and having to spend money. They had to buy the land, they had to pay the architect, they had to do all that stuff. So we could leave it like this and see if we get more nibbles. But if the goal is to get more nibbles, then I think that's an area where I could do it. So
And I didn't want to talk you out of it. If you know, if your recommendation is get out ahead, like take the risk and get out ahead of the taxable value creation, you know, I'll definitely carry that forward.
So I guess, but before we do a motion or anything, is there a thumbs up to recommend changing the timing of payment or defer to staff to bring it to the agency like this?
Or about changing it in general or changing it the way you proposed?
Let's say just changing it to be more front end loaded and my percentages don't have to be.
I'm good with what's on here or something that's more aggressive, but I think this helps a lot in terms of the cash flow problem that you were mentioning.
So if the thought is, this is certainly better than what it was as far as paying, let's go with this and we're.
I think it's a good starting.
Okay, all right.
I like this.
All right, so we're fishing per the recommendation.
Okay.
The only other thing I'll add maybe is if it's been a year since this has been in creation, maybe like if we revisit this in 6 months and don't wait a whole nother year to see. I mean,
Oh, I like,
you also don't want to be changing the game the entire time. So I don't know what that middle ground is, but maybe we don't wait a long time if there's still no nibbles.
I like that too.
Building cycle's been pretty slow though. I mean, just coming from working for a builder. People just aren't building that much, period.
Okay.
So I want to just, if it's been a year and a half, this has been the consistent thing.
Okay.
So,
We have this OAB money. I'd like to spend it and see. It would be a better answer to say, wow, we burned through that too quick. Maybe we should have been. But that's a problem we don't have right now. So I think do you feel like you have direction?
Yeah, and you good with the 1250, 12,500, with the that the agency board should think about sizing it for adjusting it for size, but other than adjusting it for size, this was a good amount.
Yeah, just one question about the 12,500, if that's per unit. I think for like this example of the 16-unit building, that's a lot higher than current percentage is. Well, if I'm thinking that right, like 12.
This really helps multifamily.
So is that the goal, is to more incentivize like bigger projects than the 4-unit range?
Lindsay, I hate to do this, but
Oh.
they can't hear you on the thing. So, and you gotta get like stupid clothes.
Thanks, Mark.
Should I
Uh,
restart that or?
So you were, I'll just maybe rephrase to make sure I've got it right. You notice that for a big multifamily unit, this is going to be significant dollars and significantly more than they were getting
Yeah.
under the prior version. Yeah, I think they are the biggest winners as we transition from the prior version to this current version. And I think that's actually because they were multifamily was just kind of unfairly disadvantaged in the old system. because of the way their construction value, the way the numerator and denominator are calculated for their construction values. It just ended up really being kind of a weak incentive for multifamily, even though multifamily is very hard to pencil right now. I'm working with developers who haven't gotten off the ground for pre-development for multifamily, and they've opened up their books, and I can see multifamily is just extremely challenging to get to work in our area. So I think, yeah, so, I think that's kind of a feature, not a bug.
Well, I'm trying to follow up on or understand Tina's argument or that issue. A 4-bedroom house, if it's really big and has big bedrooms, it's going to get the same subsidy as a small 4-bedroom house?
No, any 4-bedroom house that's 1,400 square feet or less would qualify. But that's gonna be a pretty small, like,
Right.
that's pretty small for a 4-bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. We're trying to
So
not
it's-
incent the 3,500 square foot.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So these figures here are the maximums.
Maximums, yes. These are
Okay.
you can go smaller than this, but you cannot go larger than this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I support staff's recommendation because I believe it does incentivize the smaller bedrooms, smaller units, and that's what I think we need to do.
Just remind me of the pool of money, and this is to Lindsay's point, like, if we get a multifamily project with X units, what's X to drain the whole bucket?
Yeah, let me do the quick math here.
83.
Yeah.
Oh, and I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world. And then we could say, oh, let's build a new bucket. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I've only lived here 35 years and they've yet to build anything like that, but let's do it.
Can I say? I'm personally very interested in diverse housing mixes. I would not like to see one type unless it is, I mean, I also like to think about the context of Hood River, and I know it's changing. We are building a very large project on Rand Road, Mariposa, and I think the sweet spot's often very hard to find, which is not 2 and not, and not 50. So I really want to make this just as I guess I'm just making my claim on the fact that I want this to be appealing for all types of housing, because some people want a townhome, some would like a cottage cluster. Not everybody wants to live in apartments, so I just want to
Sure.
make that. And frankly, they are the hardest to build. So let's get housing done.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to incent the private developer. So there's no deed restrictions. I mean, that's a whole different discussion that's going on. This is trying to kickstart just exactly what you're talking about, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, to that point, any help getting the word out on this, Jaded? Okay, any additional discussion on the construction incentive? On we go. Okay. No visuals for the next few, so sorry. Great. So next, discussion about putting in an informational display in the Heights, and there is a little visual in your packet. That's the extent of my graphic design capabilities. But the idea here is, I get, and I'm sure you all get questions of what's going on in the Heights? Where are we? Is anything happening? And so we have the website, and that memorializes all of the work that happened over many years and hundreds of people giving their input and involvement. But as new folks move to town, they don't have that history, and it might fade in people's memories. And so I thought it might be useful to put a permanent installation in the Heights, so that even as we have ebbs and flows in, obvious activity, there'll still be something planted in there to remind folks of what's going on. So Travis Dillard, who was on this advisory committee, expressed willingness to host an informational display on his property. I think we can also that could be a temporary location for it, and we could, as we do the Taylor Avenue construction, we could probably fit it maybe somewhere on Taylor Avenue as well in the right of way. But but it's not inexpensive to do graphic design and to do custom welding work. So there is a fiscal in the packet, you know, a little less than $10,000 to get this done. The graphic design fits within the current budget for MIG for their work doing the 30% designs on Taylor Avenue. So still an expense, but it's a one that fits into current budget. But the welding would be a new expense. So anyway, just wanted to bounce that off of this group before spending the money.
Any thoughts?
Well, I like the idea. I think we should get information out there. A couple questions. There's going to be a QR code on there apparently. And do we have the ability to do counts from that or something, some quantification to see if it's working, to see?
I would assume so. We definitely could, we know page hits. Where they're originating from, I'll ask our web developer.
Okay.
Mhm.
Couple other comments. A lot of information to put on the board. If it comes down to running out of space, I would prefer, or I would favor the goals and where we're going, and not so much the process of how we got there.
Okay.
Which is history, and some people may find that interesting, but I think really important is where we're going and what it's going to look like, a timeline, that kind of thing. The other comment I'd have is there a way to make it a little more vertical so that we can create a safety hazard as people are driving by? I'm kidding. But they can see it and it'll be more, next time they're in the neighborhood, they'll, hey, let's swing by and look at that. Or just get the information out. Maybe that they'd see the big title or headline or something. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of thought about it, you know, we just used the ones downtown for examples, and they're at a 45-degree angle-ish for kind of standing and looking at. Don't know if we need to get into any sort of wind engineering, if we get too big or too vertical, but yeah, we can look into that more.
Tina, then Doug.
I think my question's been answered primarily. The QR code is going to enable if there are changes or tweaks to this, because the worst thing that you do is you spend all this money and then you create this beautiful thing and then it's obsoleted. So, or, you know, changes are made, which does happen. So there's going to be an ability to change the actual features a little bit with the QR code.
Well, the QR code will take you to the website.
Right,
For
okay,
the,
that's what, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think once we have the design, tweaking it will be maybe a lot less money
So
to,
it's mostly the construction of the actual stand, and you're right, the graphic design, it will be easier to make adjustments versus the first time around.
right,
Okay.
yeah, so we have like we are here now, and you know, move. And then all we have to do is reprint and rewrap, and that not too much, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like the idea of raising the profile. You made a joke earlier, Mark, about like there not being anyone here to yell at us. And I think raising the profile like creates that possibility, which is both a like negative and a positive pressure for action. So I just think we'll have to be thoughtful with how we put that project sequencing out there and what that looks like in terms of a timeline, so that we can meet or beat that timeline and kind of convey what I think we're wanting to do this here without some of the possible negative repercussions of it.
Steve?
I hearing the people comment so far, I don't disagree with what we're talking about. I like I like keeping it I guess the way it's been described, the QR code and and like I said, I think if there are updates, we could probably tweak the little display without having a major cost.
Cool. Lindsay? So for me, I thought two things. One, there needs to be a donation box, little slot in it. I think maybe nowadays that's just the QR code. That it should be keep it simple. It's an excitement thing. Here's the map of what it's gonna look like, and the first phase is gonna be in 26, and next phases are, we don't know when. And also, I think there should be like three. There should be one down at Jackson Park at the beginning of the project. There should be one at the sidewalk coming up from Pacific to right when you get into the Heights, and then this one in the middle somewhere. And whether it's on this side of Taylor or the other, I think, kind of thing. And then, visit Hood River, maybe they could, my guess is the fabrication guys can make three almost for the same cost that they make one. And I am taking welding classes now, so I might be able to jump in there. That's my only input too. So I think you got input, right?
Yeah, great, thanks. Jackson Park, that's a great idea. Yeah, I didn't mention, we are thinking another one could go over by 10 speed. Because there's gonna be a permanent bus stop planned there. But so we're gonna build for that. But the bus actually can't use it until we do the roundabout because buses can't go from May to 13th right now. They can't make that turning movement. So we'll have a bus stop area, maybe quite a bit ahead of actually having a bus able to stop there. So that could be another place for this sign to go. Yeah. Great. Okay. Next item is contract awards for some data collection work, I guess is the way I'd summarize it. So, as you're probably aware, we have an RFP out on the street to do full design to construction documents for the first 3 projects in the Heights Streetscape Plan. So basically what we have resources available to do, getting it done as quickly as we possibly can ahead of ODOT deadlines to install ADA curb ramps. So that RFP is out on the street. It closes on March 4th. But we've identified that there's some pre-work that could be done. That's going to be data that any team that we hire is going to need in order to hit the ground running. And that's additional survey of along 13th Street. That's doing some geotechnical work that was going to influence pavement design and also stormwater features. So basically understanding how much water the ground can infiltrate in the area. And then also a traffic study forecasting out not just traffic counts, but the types of vehicles and the weight of those vehicles. And that's also going to influence pavement design. And so we have contracts with GRI for geotechnical, DKS for traffic, and Klein to expand the survey area. Dan, the Heights owners rep, who's helping manage this with me, anything you want to add to that?
That was a great summary, but I would say yeah, if there's any questions, yeah, we're happy to address them. And yeah, I think this is a great opportunity to get some work done while we're continuing through this RFP process to hire the design team, and as Will said, really give that design team all the tools they need to really move forward in haste.
Yeah, no, this is a good segue out of the previous conversation about trying to move quickly. So it makes a ton of sense to me. I guess I wanted to confirm that it's Dan's job, and he's doing this, I'm sure, of like, when I see these amounts, like they don't mean anything to me, right? I don't know how much it costs to do those things. I'm assuming that vetting, due diligence, like this is how much this generally, like all that stuff's happening outside of sort of our kind of place to weigh in.
Yep, exactly why we hired a professional engineer as our owner's rep. But Dan, if you want to.
I absolutely. We're and I mean, I would add, we've even we also have the benefit of MIG under contract to bring those first 2 implementation projects to 30% design. And so, they've also been a great resource in terms of scoping and in right sizing the scope and the budget for what we're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah. Only thing I just recall also note that the city engineer has reviewed this along with Dan. Yeah.
Yeah, I assume that was happening. It's just nice to hear what the process is. It's reassuring. Thanks.
Well, one of the contracts is for traffic data, I believe. How's that going to interface with I believe we had traffic data for before we adopted the plan to inform the plan in the first place?
Exactly right. Yeah, DKS did it. I think, yeah, their traffic study was in 2020 or 2021. 2021, I believe. And it's, yeah, it was the basis for the entire Heights Streetscape plan. What I understand about this one is it's as much or more about not just forecasting the counts, but the types of vehicles, because freight versus passenger vehicle has a completely different amount of strain on the roadway and will materially influence the pavement design. Dan, and
I was just gonna add, great question, and exactly where I began. The goal was not to redo traffic counts, and but unfortunately, DKS just doesn't, and ODOT as well. They just don't currently have the type of data we need to really provide to the geotech to provide pavement recommendations. And maybe I could also add, the city has some, just standard pavement design sections, but the thought is, given the types of soil within the heights, that those pavement sections can actually likely be reduced and still provide the same design service life. And so, while there's some definitely an upfront cost, we can recoup that cost many times over in terms of reducing construction costs and construction materials.
Steve, do you have anything?
No, not on this, not on that part.
Okay, same thing with me. It just, look for doing stuff smart, right? So good work. Get it moving.
Well, I guess I have one thing. Are we still sending? I'm trying, since I don't have a lot of history on this, are we still sending any of the big semis up to the upper valley, fruit and all that up 13th, or do they have an alternate route? Or, I mean, that'd be our biggest truck.
yeah, so I do remember from the original traffic study that freight was found to be, I think, 2.4%. I guess don't quote me on the decimal place, but a very small amount of the traffic flow. I think to Dan's point of really nailing down that maybe we don't need to build to accommodate so much freight anymore because it is a very small amount of the traffic. But and then yeah, I've routed. It's not scientific, but just using Google Maps, routed basically anywhere around the perimeter of the city. You're going to find your freight's going to find its fastest route to the interstate on 34 Frankton or Country Club. It's really, unless you're delivering product like directly to a Heights business, it's not a good freight route to go through.
Will, you're looking for a recommendation?
Yes.
So I'll move the committee support the awards of contracts to the three firms.
We have a motion?
Okay, that wasn't the motion.
It was,
That was,
it was pretty close.
I'm just going back to find the language. All right, I'll just go without it. I move that is it the committee? Who's
The Urban Renewal Agency
Yeah,
Committee.
the
support
Urban Renewal Agency Committee move forward with the 3 contracts as specified in the notes.
All right. You made let's call that a first and a second since.
Okay.
And all in favor of the motion to proceed, say yes.
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 All right, carries.
Next up is a supplemental budget. So, we adopt the budget, we're gonna, in June. And then operate, and we need to make adjustments mid-year when new operating conditions exist that we didn't anticipate at budget adoption. And Oregon Budget Law gives us an avenue to do that, which is this supplemental budget resolution that we have before you. So I'll just run through quickly what this supplemental budget is authorizing, and then I can answer any questions. One thing that runs throughout it is updating budgeted estimates to actual beginning fund balances. So in the next couple of months, I'm going to be forecasting what our next year's beginning fund balance is likely to be. I will be wrong because I'm doing it 4 months ahead of the actual beginning of the fiscal year. So we make our best estimates and we budget off of that. But then once the financial audit is complete, we know what the beginning fund balances actually were. This gives us a chance to just compare and adjust as necessary once the audit is complete. So you'll see that in every fund is recognizing the actual versus the budgeted beginning fund balance. In the general fund, we also are budgeting for charges for services for programs that the agency is doing on behalf of the city. So this is some of the housing work that looking at what could be our next low income or mixed income housing project. And we've been working on evaluating publicly owned parcels and doing pre-development feasibility work on some city-owned projects. And so that's been under my management with agency contractors. And then I've been billing the city plus 10% overhead charge for that work. But all that has come up mid-year. And so this is budgeting for that work. In Columbia Cascade, this is very just administrative reclassification of activity. The Columbia Cascade has already collected all the funds it's allowed to collect. And so now any interest earned on those funds, we can't use that for urban renewal because it would exceed our expenditure authority. So we have to account for that money every year and send it to the county, and the county sends it back to all the overlapping taxing districts. So this is one truing up to what that amount is actually going to be. We budgeted, I think, 130, and it only ended up being 121,000. And changing the classification code per auditor's recommendations. So doing that. And then in the waterfront and the heights, just adjusting down budgeted expenditures. For the waterfront, we are almost done with the waterfront and downtown stormwater line project, which originates all the way back in 2019. But we're on phase 4 and we've got good bids in and work is getting done. So we know now what that's going to be, and I can lop off. And I just the budget, since that's our last project and the only thing we're doing in the waterfront, I just put all appropriations towards that. But we don't need to, so I can reduce that budgeted amount. And similarly in the heights, not knowing how far and how fast we would go, I just put in the total budget for the first 3 projects, but we now know that construction is going to happen next fiscal year. So we can reduce those appropriations down. And a little selfishly, if we reduce appropriations down, we get a lower overhead charge from the city for general overhead. So it's my ulterior motive there. And also just to kind of be a little bit more accurate with what we're really going to spend. Yeah, so those are the basic actions.
any questions? Not seeing any specifics. There is a motion on the bottom of the 31st page of the packet. Someone wants to read that out?
I move the Urban Renewal Agency Board adopt Resolution 206 URA 01, a supplemental budget for fiscal year 25-26.
I second.
All right, we have a first from Doug and a second from Tina. Any other discussion? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thanks, Will.
Should I bounce right into administrator update?
Yep, please.
First is a proposed joint meeting with the agency board and advisory committee to receive the 30% designs for Taylor Avenue. So we should have those done in the next week and we can get them all get them ready for presentation. And it would save on consulting charges if we didn't have to present them multiple times. And I know the advisory committee and advisory board like to get together at least once or twice a year. So it seemed like a good time to do that. If March 9th works for the committee to join the agency board for a joint meeting.
I will be here, but if we have a quorum, that'd be great. I strongly encourage that we have that kind of joint discussion. So I think it's good. So if y'all can make it on the 9th, I think we should.
What time is it?
6 o'clock. And
And-
right here.
And that's just as part of the agency section on that first Monday or second Monday.
Yep.
Is that the deal? Okay.
Yep.
Everyone
Yeah,
can go?
I don't know what we
Alright.
need for that one, but sounds good.
So I think as long as there's snacks, the advisory committee agrees that.
Great. And following up on that, I guess a little addendum too is after the presentation, we'll have an open house for the public to come and view them and give input. Don't have a date, don't have a location. Any thoughts? It doesn't have to be right now, but if you have thought, I saw like Flow Yoga and Working Hands rents out their space. Probably want to be indoors rather than outdoors in late March, early April. But if anyone wants to help with that planning or has ideas, follow up with me afterwards.
Yeah, great. And so we're not going to ask people for their input. We're going to tell them what we're going to build, basically.
And ask first. I'm not sure.
Because we've.
Yeah, it is
It's
more
not
of a
like we
presentation.
shouldn't do a roundabout. How do we avoid reopening the whole box?
I think
Anyway, it's a discussion for that project, but.
we're gonna try to
obviously
work
have
out
opinions.
places where there could be actual decision points, but also be upfront when there isn't, and it's mostly just a show and tell.
Cool.
Great. Getting ready for budget development. We've got our budget committee meeting will be May 13th. So I just wanted that on everybody's calendars. Unfortunately, that's not movable because we do it the third meeting of the city budget committee. And you as advisory committee members are all the budget committee. You're the one half of the budget committee along with the agency board. So being May 13th, I believe 6, but it might be 5:30. It'll be the evening of the 13th.
And what are the quorum requirements for that?
That we need to have, let's see, so it would be, so we got 14 folks, we need 7 present but budget committee and the agency board.
And are they still looking for budget committee members for the whole follow acts?
Us.
Are you talking about the city budget committee? So we're advertising for 1 more month.
Got it.
1 more month, and we have current members who would like to come back, so they're reapplying, but there is one who may not be able to.
So if anyone on this group would like to apply for the big budget process, which is 3 weeks in May.
Wednesdays.
It's fascinating and it's interesting, it's really I liked it a lot. I'll be in Spain, but I did, I recommend it. You can do it.
I can vouch for it. I'm on the budget committee.
Oh.
It's short amount of time compressed, but gives you a great insight into everything.
No, think about it. All right.
And we kind of talked about it already, but just let you know that the Heights Design Services RFP to take those first 3 projects to construction documents, the RFPs on out in the world, and it closes on March 4th. We had a pre-proposal meeting that filled up the city council chambers. We had about 23 folks attend. And there's a couple firms sent a few people, but I think we're gonna have quite a response, so very exciting.
It's great.
And then I did have one additional thing, so since getting the audit closed and doing all the books, and evaluating our financial status, I think there could be some additional funds to continue to work on the Mount Adams roundabout. So we've been kind of doing spending as we go on that, since the West Side District's pretty new and doesn't have much money. And so we've got the 2nd round comments on the roundabout with ODOT. And we need to respond to comments, and there's gonna be, I think, additional rounds as well. So I have a contract adjustment for DKS to add another $20,000 to the contract to help us continue work with ODOT. That would take their full contract to $91,820. I just got that quote this morning, so I couldn't include it for tonight, but if they're without objection, we'll just take it right to the agency board in order to keep us moving.
Yeah, and that's for the West Side.
That's
the
for
traffic circle at
Mount
Mount
Adams.
Adams, which is great. So thumbs up from everyone to keep going. Great.
Great.
You want a motion?
Yeah.
Good.
That's it.
Items from members. Steve, we'll start with you since you're far away.
Say that again.
What do you got beyond what we just talked about for the good of the order?
I can't understand you.
Would you like to bring up any new topics?
No, nothing new.
Sweet. Doug?
Nothing from me.
Yeah.
Well, I was curious as to my motion. Did I wasn't verbatim, or what did I don't understand.
I think you said recommendation, not motion, so then I motioned and then say, we got there.
That was the word, is recommendation.
I think so, I defer to Mark on this one.
Yeah, we got past it. So I think that I wasn't sure whether you were making a motion or you were saying that we needed to make a motion. But then by the time you finished talking, I said, I'm pretty sure that was a motion. It doesn't matter. I was just curious. Okay. Yeah. Welcome, Lindsay. This is about as exciting as this whole thing goes. So, and I don't have anything, so off we go.